Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Yu-Gi-Oh! Spellbook Prophecy deck profile for Genesys format November 2025. Wanted to update the Prophecy Spellbook deck for Genesys format. It's a deck that really doesn't have any points taken for it, so we can utilize the points in other spots in the deck, and the deck just focuses mainly, as the playstyle goes for the actual deck, in the actual TCG, just focusing on using a lot of different spells, building up those spell numbers in the graveyard, then having our different spellbook monsters on the field utilize those cards, along with just being able to have some of the draw power and some of the other engines that we've added into the deck also. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. We'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. We have a very small main deck monster number lineup, with the count being 3 copies of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. When this card's normal summon or flip face up, add 1 Spellbook spell from your deck to your hand. So it's search power, just being able to add any of the Spellbook spells that we need from our deck to our hand, thanks to this card, and then being able to use those spells as well. So a definite 3 of, just for the search power they can provide. The last Prophecy monsters that we run being the 1 copy of High Priestess of Prophecy and the 1 Temperance of Prophecy. During your main phase, if you activate a spell card previously this turn, you contribute this card to special summon a level 5 or higher light or dark spellcaster type monster from your deck. You cannot special summon another level 5 or higher monster in turn you activate this effect, but still, then you can use this card to get out your High Priestess, which you can also reveal 3 spellbook spells in your hand to special summon this card from your hand. And once per turn, you can banish 1 spellbook spell from your hand or graveyard to target 1 card on the field and destroy that target. So destruction power, but also on top of that, we have the easy reveal and one of our bigger boss monsters to make use in the deck, whether we get it out with Temperance or her own card effect. We also have more of the search power with this card in the form of other cards we run in the deck, like Spellbook of Judgment and its special summon power. So that's where we hold some of the point numbers for our other cards in the deck. Since we don't run any, cards that have points for the actual Spellbook and Prophecy cards, we're running some of them in the form of the Nibiru and the Drone Lockbirds that we're running in the deck also. Drone Lockbird is a spellcaster, which doesn't really pop up often. We just have it here for the restriction of our opponent being able to add cards from their deck to the hand, and then Nibiru being able to tribute out cards on the field, and then summon out those monsters as well. Now, the big part of the deck is obviously the spell lineup. It's the majority of the rest of the main deck. We're running 3 copies of Spellbook of Secrets. You add 1 Spellbook card from your deck to your hand. Except Secrets, you can activate 1 Spellbook of Secrets per turn, but Secrets can add Spellbook Magician of Prophecy and vice versa, so both of these cards can just help to search the other out, depending on which one we open up with. The 3 copies of Spellbook of Judgment, a quick play spell. During the end phase of this turn, this card is activated. Add Spellbook spell cards from your deck to your hand, except Spellbook of Judgment, up to the number of spell cards activated after this card's resolution. Then you can special summon from your deck 1 spellcaster monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of cards added to your hand by this effect. So being able to add multiple cards, then also being able to grab our different spellcaster monsters is a big help, especially with this spell in the deck being our search power for all the other many lower number spell book cards that we run in the deck. But for more of the 3 copies of Spellbook of Fate. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can banish up to 3 spellbook spells from your graveyard. Apply this effect depending on the number of spells banished. If you banish 1, return a set spell or drop in the field of the hand. 2, change 1 monster on the field to face down defense or face up attack. Or 3, banish 1 card your opponent controls. And the banish doesn't target either, so it's very powerful, and it's the one we use the majority of the time after we set up spells in the graveyard to use with Spellbook of Fate. Other 3-ofs include the 3 copies of Spellbook Starhall, a continuous spell. When each time a Spellbook card is activated, place a spell counter on this card. All spellcaster monsters you control gain 100 attack for each spell counter on it, and when this card, with spell counters, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 spellcaster monster from your deck to your hand, whose level is less than or equal to the number of spell counters that were on it. So if you can at least get 2 when this card is destroyed, you have the search for your Spellbook Magician. But the big thing with this card comes down to the attack power, which you want to be able to boost up for cards like Spellbook Magician to then use against your opponent. Cards like Spellbook of Power and Spellbook of the Master will always help with this also, but additionally we're also running 3 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. Send to the graveyard either 1 spellcaster monster you control or 1 other Spellbook card from your hand or face on the field, except for Knowledge, and draw 2 cards. So draw power of being able to also use our face-up cards as well, and then having the added option, let's say we don't have enough spell counters on Starhall, we can send it with Knowledge and get draw power into other cards we may need. and then also 2 copies of Spellbook of the Master. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can reveal one other Spellbook card in your hand. Then target 1 Spellbook normal spell in your graveyard, except Master, and this card's effect becomes that card's effect. So you can use Master by revealing another card to copy your Spellbook of Secrets, and then just get more searches on top of searches. You can use Secrets to search out Master, and then go from there for an additional search into Search. And then also the 2 copies of the Grand Spellbook Tower. Once per turn during your standby phase, if you have a spellcaster type monster on your side of the field or in your graveyard, you can return 1 Spellbook spell from your graveyard to the bottom of the deck, and then draw 1 card. And when this card is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or deck, whose level is less than or equal to the number of Spellbook spells in your graveyard. So you have add back and search power with a good majority of cards we run in the deck. It just comes in handy being able to use and add all these different cards thanks to our field spell, also, which will give us a second draw on top of our draw for our draw for turn in the deck also. And then the additional 2 ofs for the last of them being 2 copies of Spellbook of Eternity. You target one of your banished Spellbook spell cards except Eternity, add that target to your hand. So if we banish cards off of Spellbook of Fate, we can then use this spell to add those cards back to our hand to reuse again. And then the 1-ofs for the Spellbook cards being 1 Spellbook Library of the Crescent, 1 Spellbook of Power, 1 Spellbook of Life, and 1 Spellbook of Wisdom. Having spell and trap protection with Wisdom, the special summon back power with Life, the power boost power with Power, and then Crescent as an early game search option as well, just by having none in our graveyard. It's just a good search tech to add. If you wanted to run 3 of this card, you can try dropping down some of the other numbers we run, but still useful for sure in the deck. For the other spells, 3 copies of Ultimate Slayer. Your opponent can activate monster effects in response to this card. Send 1 monster from your extra to the graveyard, then target 1 monster your opponent controls with the same card type. Fusion Synchro Xyz and shuffle it into the deck. So it gets rid of pesky answers your opponent may have, and a big part of the extra deck we're running as well, just to have cards to send off of this card to then shuffle back our opponent's cards. 2 copies of Pod Desires, which is where another spot for the points come in for the deck to use, along with Call by the Grave, which is the final card for the spells and the final card in the main deck that we also run as well. Draw power on top of just being able to stop cards in our opponent's graveyard as well. Like I said, the majority of the points in the deck fall on the additional staples that we run, being the Pot of Desires, Call by the Grave, and then the additional hand traps that we run also. For the extra deck, we're just running more of the generic lineup. So we have some fusion targets for the Ultimate Slayer. So 3 copies here. Will we ever need 3? Probably not, but they're there for that option. Xyz monsters just being the rank 2s that we can go into with Spellbook Magician of Prophecy for the added search. Some of these, like Gin Buster, I just have also in the deck as send cost for Xyz monsters, but then also more of the generics for some of the other Xyz monsters that we run. Also, you don't go into the extra deck much with this deck, but you still want to have the options available to you since we don't have link monsters, with the last just being the Synchro Engine with more send power as well to be able to send to react to some of our opponent's cards. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the spell buildup is a big part of it. So if we have just the 1 additional spell, which could just be a 1-of spell, and then 1 of the opening starters, which is Spellbook of Secrets or Spellbook Magician, we can go from there for all of our plays. We can use Spellbook of Secrets, like let's say these 2 are our opening hand, activating Secrets to then be able to add our Spellbook of Magician, summoning out Magician to then get the search for our Spellbook of the Master, which is then what we need for the additional search power, because then we activate Master, revealing the other spell in our hand, copying the effects of the secret in the graveyard, using the additional search effect of that card to then be able to add cards like Spellbook of Knowledge, and then being able to use Knowledge, sending the card we control, that other spellbook, to then draw into additional cards, which then we can draw into potentially more of the banished option, which we have plenty of in the graveyard to use, or other cards as well for that draw power. If we open up Judgment, then we just have more of an early search to use with these cards early on also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just a update to a deck that I found a lot of fun throughout the many years of Yu-Gi-Oh! To update for Genesys format. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.